Howdy, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be doing a little project on our model G0769er mill end here. The other day when I was working on the that part from a drill press, this head, I'm not a machinist, but I got it really not in a bind. I wasn't taking that big of a cut, but I got a little bit of chatter with corncob mill on here. And that sucker grabbed a hold, and this head went like this. It just whack, just took off on me. Now I had all the bolts that hold this head tight. I had them as tight as I could. I felt like I should get them. You'll see here in a minute. It is not a terribly robust setup. So what I've got in mind here is I'm going to build a couple little brackets that bolt on up here on either side of this carriage, slide, whatever you want to call it, but bolt right here, and then have a set screw that bears back here. The pivot is about here, so that gives me the maximum amount of leverage against the pivot to where I can hold this still. And I will probably never ever set this dude at an angle and do any milling. If I do, I'm going to make these to where I can take them off quickly and easily, but mostly I want to be able to tram this dude in and just walk away from it and not have the near catastrophes that I had the other day. It was somewhat terrifying. So here are the little blocks I made. These are just, this is a piece of 1/2 by 1.5 inch steel, and this is 3/8 by 1, and I just welded them together. I guess I could have made this out of a solid piece and then tried to mill that out. But honestly, I don't need that level of precision, and I certainly don't need that level of hassle. These are through holes for 8mm studs, and this is tap size for a 6mm set screw. And now this one, I had to put a little cutout in here to clear the knee lock, spindle height lock. I don't know what you would call it on this thing. But anyway, one of the locks is right here. So I had to make a little cutout for it. That's not really going to affect it too terrible. So let's get this head tore apart. So I've had this apart already. It's been several months ago, and I had forgotten about this screw. There's a screw that locks that head onto this spigot, and I don't ever remember tightening that or loosening that. I don't remember that screw at all. Anyway, I ding-donged that. I don't think that's going to really matter in the long run of things. So what I aim to do now, we'll get this thing set up in the vise. So what we'll do now, we'll get this thing set up in the drill press and the vise and the something, get it set up in the vise, and get these holes transferred over, and drill and tap some holes in this casting, hopefully without ding-donging something up. Okay, so I think I'm going to change my YouTube name to The King of Hokey, because this is a really hokey setup. I've got a piece of aluminum here, just some bar stock, that I've got clamped to my little steel block here. I've got it clamped two ways to it, got the block resting on the slide, and then got that all clamped together to where this is all holding it at the same register and holding it straight with everything. So now I'm just going to take a transfer punch and transfer my holes over. And now I'm going to flip this thing over and do about the same thing to the other side of it. There we go. So I've got my piece in the drill press, and I'm not going to be just ultra precise with all of this. So here I've got my pieces that I made bolted back onto this slide, or bolted onto this slide. And I've set the slide down on the head. And I've reached in there. I haven't tapped these holes here yet. These holes are untapped. And I reached down in there with my pilot drill, or my tap drill size, tap with the right drill bit. And I have spotted where that's going to hit this casting, and it hits right about on this edge, and I knew that it was going to. That's okay. I didn't want to actually try to split the difference, because I knew that if I did, when I tightened these down, that it would push up a burr on this edge. So I wanted to stay as far back away from that as I could, and I just kind of compromised with this edge right here. So with all that being said, you can kind of see, pardon my goober up there, what made all of this necessary. This is what holds the whole head from rotating. And boy, that's just not a whole lot of clamping action to hold something this heavy with that much torque and vibration on it. You know, this slips up through the back right here. And you know doggone good and well, you go trying to tighten that down to, you know, very much tight at all, and that little T-head is just going to rip square off of there. So, you know, like I said, if I was going to, you know, set this head at an angle, these will come right off. They're just, you know, 4 nuts. And then we can rely on this solely for that purpose, which, you know, if I was better, or any kind of machinist, and knew what I was doing, I probably wouldn't overload this and make it spin, but that's what it is. So now I'm going to lay this thing over, and I'm going to take a half round file and just file me out some flats for my screws to bear again. And we'll start I'll get everything washed up, we'll start putting her back together. Boy, that was a convenient thing. The designers of this really knew what they were doing when they designed all this stuff. Because, boy, that was really easy to set that give up. So, now I'm going to put the head back on this rascally thing. Okay, so let's get our brackets mounted on there. Well, there we go. Got our little blocks installed. I've got this thing trammed in across the X as good as it's ever going to get. It's within about a half a thousandth. Now I've never decked off the mounts where the rails actually slide on, so nothing is really good on this. I mean, it's not even as close as what it should be. So for now, we've got it to where at least it won't flop over. That's as good as I actually wanted it on this. These came out pretty good. My little contact areas came out just exactly how I wanted them. Everything actually worked on this project, other than putting this stupid gib back together. Good night of living, that was a nightmare. But it is what it is. I'm done. Everything works. I'm tickled pink that it actually works. So thanks for watching. Y'all drive safe. Watch for deer.